Hello, everybody, and welcome to what I believe is our sixth Flood Coffee morning. My name's Patrick. I haven't done one of these before, but I'm the other half of the company with Lottie. So Flood, if you don't know us, we're an artist development company, and we do consultancy across marketing and script support and producing support, basically anything that you need to try and help you get your show or try and get your career kind of off the ground. Yeah, and we are having our first a coffee morning today with Antonia Beck. So I can hand over to you.
Yes, of course. Thank you very much for inviting me to be part of the coffee mornings. Hello everyone. My name is Antonia Beck. I am just a brief self-description. I'm a white woman with shoulder-length blonde hair, blue eyes, and I'm wearing a white and black stripy top. And my pronouns are she, her. My job title at the moment, my role is senior producer for artist development at the Lowry in Salford.
Fantastic. Well, we're very excited to have you here talking to us, and can't wait to hear all that you've got to say. So our first question to get us going is, what was the first paid role that you had in the arts? Where did you start?
Sure. I've been thinking about sort of proper paid roles. Yes.
Mhm.
The first proper paid role I had, the first kind of maybe professional job I had then in the arts was working as a senior administrator for a company called Activate Performing Arts.
Mhm.
They're now just called Activate. They were Activate Performing Arts, and they're
Okay.
based down in Dorset in the southwest. Just say that. So basically, as the name suggests, I was the administrator. There actually wasn't a junior
Okay.
administrator, so I was the sole administrator, despite having senior in my
Yes.
title. And my job was very much focused on the day-to-day running of the office and
Mhm.
support on projects. So the organisation itself is an artist development organisation specialising in theatre, dance, and outdoor arts. And Activate actually produces a festival, a really large festival called Inside Out Dorset, which takes place every other year in amazing locations across Dorset, where the company bring in regional, national, international artists to
Mhm.
create work site responsively or bring in something that's a bit more site specific as part of the festival program. Yes, so my job was to everything from processing and paying invoices and doing payroll to
Mhm.
making sure the printer worked to writing up board notes and sending trust reports off, working on our office policies, doing risk assessments,
Mhm.
yeah, everything just to make sure the day-to-day running went smoothly.
Yeah, the beating heart of the theatre
Exactly,
building.
yes.
Yeah. Um, so could you take us through your career journey so far? So after, I mean, even before then, because as we know, so many things in theatre aren't necessarily proper paid roles. So how did you? Yes.
Yeah, sure. So I was I went to university. So after I left school, I went to university and I actually trained as a performer, as a theatre maker at University of Leeds, which was the campus was over in Wakefield at Bretton Hall, which is within the grounds of the Yorkshire Sculpture Park. So I had 3 years there
Oh, wow.
training on what was called the acting course, but the route I took was definitely not traditional acting. It was very much experimental, devised, contemporary performance and live art. And the tutors on that course really encouraged us to explore the sites because we were in a really unique location, and to be really bold with the ideas that we were interested in exploring. So I spent 3 years there studying on that course, and then went on because I really loved that kind of learning environment. I went on and did a master's in MA at Aberystwyth University,
Mhm.
so over in Wales, and that course was called Practicing Performance. So again, continuing to go down the route of quite experimental contemporary performance practices, and again, Aberystwyth. The lecturers on the course and actually the university is very interested in site-based work and environment and using different elements in practice. So that kind of continued to spur on my interest in making and being part of making original contemporary work, basically. So then after that, I went over to Activate and spent a few years at Activate as a senior administrator, which absolutely was like such a great foundation for me to better understand how you make things happen, basically, from a kind of a practical, from a business side of things. I think it gave me a great foundation for my career going forward. Whilst I was working at Activate, I had the opportunity to take on a project manager role, kind of slash producer role on a little independent project. And actually that made me realise that as much as I also love creating my own work, I love working with artists to make their ideas happen as well, and being part of teams and processes. So it made me realise that actually ideas, art, creativity, innovation is all very much at the forefront of, I guess, what drives me and motivates me and gets me out of bed in the morning, being able to create new things. So that was, I guess that was the sort of the starting point. And so I continued to develop these two strands of my career. So I kept trying to maintain a performance practice, and that included working for other independent companies, both as part of, well, again, I did a lot of outdoor theatre, street theatre, was part of companies making work indoors, as part of touring companies. So I guess I was more of a jobbing performer in that sense. But alongside that, I also started to build this freelance independent producing career as well. So I started to, I guess what's often called now a bit of a portfolio career, where you have lots of projects on the go at once, so you're not just working on one thing. So any day, any week, I was working on lots of different projects, basically, and some of those projects could have been for venues and big organizations, so coming on board part-time or freelance for them, but also working for other independent artists, or even developing stuff myself. And so after Activate, I then actually moved to Birmingham, where I spent 8 years in Birmingham having a freelance career. And then after Birmingham, I moved to Manchester, which is where I am now. As it happened, I moved just before the pandemic happened, so it was a tricky time to move to a brand new city as a freelancer. But I was very lucky, kind of within year 2 of the pandemic, to be offered the opportunity to work at Manchester International Festival, which is an incredible international arts festival that takes place in Manchester city centre. And I had the opportunity to initially work as their talent development manager, so supporting artists to connect with Manchester International Festival. And then once that temporary role finished, I moved on to kind of festival engagement manager. So I got the chance to actually work on one of the big festivals, producing the engagement aspects of a few different projects. So for example, as part of that festival program, there was a project called Sea Change, which was devised by a choreographer called Boris Charmetz, a French choreographer, and that involved bringing in 150 residents from Greater Manchester to be part of what was a 3-hour long performance piece that took place along Deansgate, so on one of the main streets in Manchester. So that was really incredible. And so my role on that project was about finding the 150 people, supporting them, absolutely making sure they had the best experience possible, and we're very much part of the team. And so I had a kind of that engagement role on a few different projects, including another project called The Walk, which took place with Good Chance Theatre, where the puppet Little Amal, who travelled over from Syria Nigeria through Europe, came over and has finally finally resides in Manchester now. And so we had a big welcome ceremony. And again, I produced an engagement aspect of that. And then that took me to the Lowry, where I am now. Yeah. So it's been quite I mean, I guess, yeah, as careers in the arts often are, lots of different directions, lots of different opportunities, and for me, that's something I've always loved, the chance to try new things and to work with different artists and be part of different experiences, and so I guess that's kind of shaped my decision to do this quite I guess fragmented career in a way,
Yeah.
but I think. For where I am now, the diversity and the range of that experience really contributes to the job I now do at the Lowry.
Yeah, I have so many questions. I guess I'll ask the next set question because the one after that kind of goes to where I was going. But so what does the role you do now? What does it currently involve? What are the key bits
Sure.
and pieces? Yeah.
So I manage a program which supports the creative and the professional development of independent artists and companies. So we support artists to make new work, which often opens at the Lowry, either in our studio theatre, which is our small theatre space, our black block theatre space, or it might open in our gallery spaces as well. The Lowry is a multidisciplinary arts venue, so our artist development program reflects that. So we've been building our offer for performance artists is quite well embedded, but we've been building an offer now for visual artists and for digital artists as well, so they can connect with the galleries at the Lowry. So yes, we support artists to create new work by offering them money, space, mentoring, performance opportunities, training, and then we also focus on supporting artists to think about the longer term net side of the work that they do, the business side, how they maintain a career. We're really committed to offering support that focuses on both of those things, because obviously it's one thing to make work, but to maintain a career in the arts is also
Yeah.
is also another thing. So that professional development side of things could be things like, learning how to put budgets together, how to apply for funding, how to develop a visual identity for yourself as an artist, a brand, looking at websites, building relationships with other artists, maybe other venues, other partners. So it really ranges. And I guess at the heart of it is we're very artist-led. Our support is very bespoke. So we always work with artists to identify, where it is, where are they now, where do they want to get to, and how can we help them take that next step. So it's all very bespoke with the way we work with artists.
Oh, that's fantastic because art can be in the very nature of, I suppose, what it is. It can be so here and now,
Yes.
but focusing on the long term is you really have to kind of pull yourself back to,
Yeah,
yeah,
definitely. Yes.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that because the Lowry is such a fantastic space. So to fill it full of art and the galleries and all of that, what a fantastic thing.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people perhaps don't know that we have an artist development offer at the Lowry. I mean,
Yeah.
for those that don't know the Lowry, we are a big we are a big arts venue, actually based in Media City on the waterfront in Salford, and we have 3 theatre spaces. We have two gallery spaces, we have rehearsal studios, we have an incredible award-winning learning and engagement program which predominantly works with young people who are living in Salford. We have our artist development program, and then we have a big kind of corporate arm of the organisation as well, where we host big conferences and weddings and events. And so any one day there will be a huge range of things happening at the
Yeah.
Lowry.
Yeah.
But often I think audiences sort of see us as this big theatre, where a lot of work that comes from the West End will come to us. We have amazing relationships with companies like the Royal Shakespeare Company and the National Theatre and Sadler's Wells and Birmingham Royal Ballet and Opera North, and so we are very much a home for a lot of these big productions. But whilst those works take up the big spaces at the Lowry, over on the
Yes.
other side of the studio, we've got incredible, exciting new work coming through,
Yeah.
supported by our artist development program.
Oh, brilliant. So what skills would you say from I would ask now, but I suppose across your entire career, from those 8 years of freelancing and then working as an administrator, what skills do you use most that you've kind of collected in your day-to-day work nowadays?
Uh, so I'd say having good communication skills
Hmm.
is really important. So I think as an artist and as a producer, um, being open to conversation and ideas is really important, and finding ways to connect with people. So within my kind of my day to day, I spend a lot of time meeting artists, a lot of artists that I don't know, and so it's all about finding out more about an artist and what they're working on, and ideas that they're thinking about, and better understanding like what their experience is of being an artist at the moment, and those conversations are so incredibly useful because they help to shape the program that we put together at the Lowry. So if an artist says to me, I'd really love to learn more about budgeting, so how to actually put a budget together, but I can't seem to find anywhere to learn about budgeting or finances, then that's something we will then look at including in our artist development program as a workshop offer going forward. So I would say yes, good listening skills, being open to new ideas and to new conversations, and an enjoyment for meeting new people, and that certainly has always been something for me. I love talking to artists and other creatives and hearing their ideas and finding out what inspires them and drives them, because it can be quite hard to work in the arts. A lot of the things that we do are very are quite self-led, and so it's for me, it's really good to understand what people's passions are, and why they're an artist, why they work in the arts, why it matters to them, and then other kind of I guess organizational or administrative skills. So I try to be like time management, and being as organized as I can is really important to particularly when, like, within my role, you're managing a lot of projects at the same time. So it's important to make sure that all those artists that you're working with feel supported and that their projects are moving forward. So I mean, I'd say at the moment we are working on between 35 and 40 different projects at the
Wow.
moment, and obviously those projects are all at different stages of their development, and so it's how we maintain a good relationships with all of those artists, and how we're ensuring that things are moving forward, and they're not kind of staying static, basically, because we
Yeah.
want all of the artists to succeed in what they're doing,
Mhm.
and making work, and and I mean, I'm certainly not a maths person. Maths has never been my strong point, but I have come to love budgets and and spreadsheets, because a key part of making art, whatever the medium is
Yeah.
money, and
There's something you kind of
yeah,
have to come to love, because you go,
yeah,
now at last I know exactly what I
yeah,
have to be able to do, as opposed to the old.
yes.
Yes.
Exactly, and as artists, as they kind of go up the career ladder, and start getting more established, it's more money is needed to pay for bigger projects, bigger teams. So I think understanding, um, most people these days might kind of might look at how they manage like a personal budget. So if they've got wages coming in, looking at where that goes on rent and bills, and then what they've got to spend. And so actually that's very similar to what a project budget is. So you look at
Yeah.
what money you might have coming in, and then look at basically how it's spent, a bit like a shopping list. So it's really good to get a sense of how much things cost, and what money you need to make things happen. So I wouldn't say don't be, if someone doesn't feel confident with maths or finances, I wouldn't say that, like, don't let that put you off, because it's much more straightforward than I think people people realize in terms of putting a budget together. And I guess that, I mean, probably the thing I should have said at the start was just that creativity, I think, is a really key part of being a producer. So it's you know, it's using that creativity to think about and understand and put forward kind of suggestions or plans for how a project might move forward. So again, in my job, I have a lot of artists who've been thinking about an idea for a long time,
Hmm.
and now wanting to have a chat about, you know, how can I make this happen? And so it's then me bringing my experience as a creative and as a producer to those conversations to work with them to think about, okay, well, how do we get it from your head into, and then make it a reality over a period of time.
Yeah, oh, fantastic. Well, thank you for answering that.
That's okay.
Um, yeah, there's so many aspects of creativity in so many roles. I find a lot of people that I've spoken to can think of like a more administrative job in the arts as slightly less creative, but there's so much creativity within those roles, and that knowledge of kind of being a creative is so fundamental and kind of bleeds through everything into everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Now, obviously, we can't pick our favorites,
No.
but what? No, all everyone's loved it equally. But what is your favorite project that you've worked on, and why? Or one of your favorite projects that you've worked on, and why?
Yes. Yeah,
Yes,
I've been, there's too many to
of
pick a
course.
favorite, but there's actually a project at the moment that we're supporting at the Lowry that is definitely nestling itself in my
Yeah.
heart, and the more it develops, you know, I'm so glad that we're supporting it, basically. So we're working with an artist called Scarlett Rose Lovett, who's based in Manchester.
Mhm.
Scarlett is a poet, a writer, a music maker, a theatre maker, and they are actually, the show actually opens this evening, but they're developing, well, they're currently doing tech rehearsals for their show, their first kind of professional show, called, or certainly first professional gig theatre show, called Pseudo. And it's a show, and when I talk about gig theatre, it's a show that combines kind of theatre and performance, but also has live musicians on stage, so it feels like a bit more like you're at a gig,
Mhm.
or and less kind of more traditional theatre that you might experience. And the show is about Scarlett's own experiences of living with a condition called functional neurological disorder.
Okay.
It's a condition that's not very well known. It sort of falls within the same spectrum as epilepsy, but actually it's not epilepsy. It has its own set of symptoms, which include having seizures. And Scarlett has been on a long journey since being diagnosed with this condition, and got to a point where they felt compelled to write about that
Mm.
experience, to make a show about it. And I mean, Scarlett's a brilliant artist, but one of the things I love whenever I see them perform is just the energy that they bring to the
Mhm.
stage, and the confidence that they bring when they're on stage. And so for me, it's becoming one of my favorites, because I can see how much this project, this opportunity, is enriching Scarlett as an
Yeah.
artist, um, and the impact it's then having on. We've done a few kind of dress rehearsals, and we had a preview, a kind of a work in progress event with an audience, and the impact it's had on audiences so far is brilliant. And so to see Scarlett bringing, music, spoken word, theatre. There's also an amazing kind of like projected visuals as well, by an amazing artist called Didi, and it's just, yeah, it's absolutely authentic to Scarlett and who they are, and the
Yeah.
work that they're making. And so yes, it kind of reinforces for me why I do what I do, basically, when we
No,
have those kind of experiences.
that sounds incredible. When is that show playing until? Because it opens
So
tonight.
it's
That's
actually only
incredible. That's
one.
so exciting. Opens tonight.
It's
Yeah.
yeah, it's actually only, well, so it's on just for one night at the Lowry, so
Ah,
it's on this
okay.
evening. But Scarlett will be releasing an EP of the tracks from the show in November. I think
Fantastic.
it will be on Spotify as part of Disability History Month. And
Hmm.
then longer term plan for Scarlett is to tour the work, and I mean, it absolutely needs to tour, so I'm sure
Yeah.
that will happen. So I'd say to everyone, look out for Scarlett, who is definitely an up and coming artist doing very interesting things.
Dude, that sounds so exciting. I love gig theatre. I love the kind of the line between
Yeah.
play and then gig, and the atmosphere of a gig, and then kind of the more where like where the line between gig theatre and musical and play and all of those things are. So what's the biggest difference that you found from working as a freelancer and then to working in a venue? What's is there a change? What's the biggest change? That sort of thing.
Um, yes, there is, and I mean, there is and there isn't, in a way. So I'd say my personal approach to how I support artists and how I produce work, is the same as when I was a freelancer. But obviously now working for a big organization like the Lowry, who is absolutely committed to artist development, is in some ways the luxury of having support, resources, money. As a freelancer, whenever I would come on board with a project or think about wanting to create something myself, you start the process of, okay, I've got this idea. Now how do I make it happen? I'm gonna have to get some money, so I'm gonna have to apply for some funding, or see if there might be some other opportunity through crowdfunding, or maybe some investment, or ticket sales to make it happen. And I guess the benefit of working somewhere like the Lowry is we absolutely do have to fundraise for our programs, but we have specialist fundraising teams in house who I work with to apply for different funds now. Our artist development program is funded by Arts Council England as part of our national portfolio organisation relationship, which means that we get regular funding from the Arts Council, so for 3 years, and then we have to apply again. So it means that I know for the next 3 years I have a set budget that I can use to work on artist development.
Mhm.
And the Lowry receives that money for the programme because the work is recognised as being really important and being really vital. So it's a I'm aware there's a big responsibility on my shoulders to make sure we maintain that
Yeah.
reputation, that profile, and that we're continuing to ensure that we're offering artists what they need, and kind of pushing what artist development is, and what it can be, and what it needs to be in the future. So I'd say, yeah, the big difference is having that resource, and the support from a bigger team, and having access to the spaces. Whereas as a freelancer, you're working independently, you don't necessarily have an attachment to a venue or space, so it's much more about going out and finding those things. So you're doing a lot
Mhm.
more asking as a
Yeah.
freelancer, and building a lot more relationships. But yeah, that's, I guess,
Yeah.
probably the main differences.
I suppose having that 3 year, the knowledge that you've got, kind of that budget for 3 years, also would remove quite a lot of stress. Because as a freelancer, so often you're chasing money, even
Yes.
though as an artist you're going, I'm not chasing money. You need
Yeah.
to live, you need to exist. So having that budget preset and there to, although there is that stress of the responsibility, there's that
Mm.
knowledge that you have the time and headspace to think without, if that makes sense.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And that no, that is something that that I am quite mindful of is because a lot of the time we are in like planning and delivery modes,
Hmm.
and so actually it's about finding time to be able to kind of take a step back and reflect and think about, oh well, this is what we're doing now, is it the same thing we want to
Hmm.
do next year? Who, where are the gaps? Which artists should we be speaking to that we're not speaking to? And so because we're a small team, so I run the program,
Yes.
and I'm supported by our artist development producer Grace, and so we deliver a lot with just the two of us, but it's absolutely, it's fantastic to work at the Lowry. It's a really exciting place to work, and I mean, I'm just so, yeah, it's fantastic to work somewhere where artist development is seen as something
Yeah,
so vital.
that's fantastic. That's yeah, and having it at the core of such a major staple of the Manchester scene, um, is fantastic. So I should have asked the question as, do you find you have the headspace now, um, as opposed to when you were a freelancer, um, with the 3 year buffer zone? Um, yeah. Well, thank you very much for your time. I think that's all the preset questions that we've got.
That's
Is there
great.
anything else that you've found working at the Lowry, in the artist development wing that you'd like to discuss? Um,
Um, uh, I would say uh, there's I mean, I guess for anyone who might be thinking about uh, maybe becoming a producer, or wanting to become an artist, and thinking about how, well, how would I even approach the Lowry, I guess, if I wanted to
mhm,
make work. I mean, I always encourage people to get in touch. So most, the majority of organisations will have contact details on a website.
mhm,
And I would always say to artists and producers, if you feel that what you do aligns with a particular organisation, so it might be that you've looked at their program and you think, oh, actually, the work I make or the work I want to make kind of feels similar to some of that, or you like what an organisation does, then I'd always say, like, don't be afraid to get in touch, because we, the organisations like the Lowry, we couldn't do what we do without artists. So
mhm.
we're always keen to hear from new people and to find out about new projects. So just get in touch, send an email, and usually I would arrange a Zoom call, or have a cup of
Yeah.
tea with them if they live locally. But and also, just another point is, just producing is very much about making things happen,
Mhm.
and that name and that job title, I guess, could also be called project manager or event manager or coordinator, or so. So at the heart of it, if what you want to do is make creative projects happen, then it could be that you go into any one of those kind of different job titles, but at the heart of it, it's all about making things happen.
Fantastic. And can I ask, do you work with artists, across any stage of their career and of any age as well? Because so much artist development nowadays is 18 to 25 or 16 to 21. Um,
Yes, we do. Yes, so we work with artists from kind of emerging, or mid-career, or more established artists. We work with artists predominantly who are 18 years plus.
mhm.
So anyone who's under 18, we would connect them with our learning and engagement team, who work with young people, actually from babies through to 25, basically.
Yeah.
But if someone is 18 and looking to start to think about how they make a career, then they're very welcome to get in touch, and we have programs there. But we're also, as well as kind of supporting the next generation coming through, we're also really aware of opportunities to support those that have a career in the arts,
Yeah.
and obviously want to maintain that, and we want them to maintain that. So a lot of the investment that we give for kind of maybe more mid-career or established companies is about that kind of more longer term support. So yeah, how can we support you to keep doing what you're doing, but also keep pushing, keep
Fantastic.
pushing the form, and yeah,
Yeah.
engaging the audiences.
And if it's all right with you, one final question. And this one's not on the list.
Okay,
But
so
if a surprise, if you had one piece of advice, from now to when to give to you when you were just starting out, so when you just left university, before you'd taken that first step in your career, what would you say to yourself? What advice would you give?
Uh, I would say go and kind of experience as much as you can. I think when I started out, I was very uh, I felt I was very focused on kind of trying to reach kind of key milestones. So, I must get a job. I must start getting some income. I was trying to I mean, I really wanted to get started, but actually, looking back now, I would say to myself, take your time, particularly when you're just starting, because it's so important um, to really follow the things that you're interested in, and experience as much as you can. Have conversations with people, meet people, network, get a really good sense of what art, whether it's visual art or music or performance or whatever, what is it that inspires you, and then keep following that. So yeah, I'd say don't feel the pressure to rush. Enjoy your time as as an early career artist.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for your time.
No worries at all.
And I hope the show opening goes well tonight. I hope that all goes smoothly. And yes, it's been fantastic talking to you and hearing your insights.